What's going on, guys? Decoration Dude here. And today I have a really special video on this Gemmy life-size Giles. Now this is not a normal Giles. This actually has a major customization done to it that I did myself along with some help from my friend Zach. You guys have seen him in some videos before. And the reason why it's a custom is because it's a collapsible. And if you know anything about Giles, he was sold at BJ's and he's not a collapsible. He's actually a pull-based, which means he comes apart into a whole bunch of different pieces and you have to assemble the pulls together. Whereas this, you hit the button on the bottom and the body just kind of collapses down and it's a lot easier to set up. And not that the pull bases are hard to set up, this is just more convenient, I guess. But you may be wondering where I got the collapsing mechanism from, and to answer that, I actually got the collapsing mechanism along with the costume he's wearing from an Edwardian butler, because the Edwardian butler shares the same costume as Giles. The only difference is probably in the shoes. I think the shoes on the Edwardian butler are definitely a lot higher quality, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, pretty much the story on that is there was an Edwardian butler that popped up for sale about 30-ish minutes away from me, and I was originally not gonna pick it up because it just looked like it was in a little rough condition, but I was talking to Zach about it and he came up with the good idea, why don't we go get it and you can turn your Giles into a collapsible. And then he needed some parts for his Edwardian butler, which I sold him. So I'm like, oh, it's a win-win. I'm like, yeah, it's a good idea, let's go do that. So we went to go pick up the Edwardian butler, and the lady lived in a trailer with her husband and like probably 7+ dogs. I don't know, a lot of animals in the house or the trailer. And as soon as she opened the door, me and Zach were just bombarded with this horrid smell. It was so bad. It was smoke, animal pee, animal feces type smell. There's more to it than that. I'm not gonna go any farther than that. It was just horrible. And we looked at each other when she opened the door and we were like, oh crap, we're gonna have to deal with this smell now. And so we took it home, and I will include a couple clips of us, doing the customization. And please keep in mind, the clips you're gonna see, everything's gonna be thrown out on the floor and everything's gonna be a mess. And please keep in mind that we had to take this thing apart as fast as we could. And it was also late at night. I think the first night we worked on this, we worked on it till like 1:30 a.m. So yeah, we were going at it pretty late into the night, and yeah, it just reeked. So we had to get this thing taken apart as soon as possible to get the clothes washed and dispose of the parts we didn't need, because it was horrible. But yeah, this customization would have gone by a lot faster if it didn't smell, because, to get these clothes off without causing any damage to the clothing, you actually have to remove the whole life size from its base. I mean, there's other ways to do it, but you'd have to like cut the pants in a certain way or something, and I didn't want to do that. So yeah, I had to remove it from the base, and that's kind of a pain. But it's doable, and it is a lot easier with 2 people. I've done it by myself before, but it definitely goes by a lot faster with 2 people, so that you can have one person to kind of hold it while the other person tries to work on it. But yeah, after we got the clothes washed, it unfortunately did not get rid of the smell completely, and the smell still lingers as I'm filming this video, but it's not nearly as bad. It's like a fraction of what it was. And I'm still gonna work on trying to fight that off with, spraying it with like fabric softener and Febreze. And don't worry, I'm not gonna like spray the electronics or anything, just, the clothing, like in this area. But overall, I am really happy with how this turned out. And it definitely exceeded my expectations. And, after, in the first clip, I said I would include, you will see that we had pretty much everything put together the first night. He just wasn't wired up or anything, and the board was still in the head. So, like I said, I'll include those clips at the end of the video. And the second day I came and worked on it, I removed the board from the head, and put it in the base. So this is like the most authentic collapsible that, you know, you could have, because Giles usually comes with his circuit board in the head, but I removed it and put it in the base and did all the wiring. And I think in one of the clips I might include, I said something about leaving the board in the head, but I decided not to go that route, just because I wanted it to be the most authentic collapsible that you could possibly have. And in my opinion, Giles deserved to be a collapsible from the very start. And he's just one of those life sizes that, you know, deserves it. And there are some pull bases that don't deserve it, but there are quite a few that I think do deserve to be collapsibles. They're just worthy of it. Giles being probably #1 on that list. And but yeah, like I said, I'm really happy with how he turned out. Another thing I had to do was his arm. It didn't match the proportions of the Edwardian butler body, so I know his arm, it's positioned a little weird, but I like it this way. I think it looks the best this way. I did have to trim his arm down and make it shorter, because it just looked really weird with the original length from Giles. So I think it actually turned out really good, and pretty happy with that. Another thing I had to do was I had to redo all the foam inserts for him. So all the foam in his chest and on his shoulders, I actually used like one of the excuse me, one of those foam pads you put on a mattress, and I cut it up and cut it into the shapes that it needed. Because like I said, I mean, this thing reeked, and the foam that was in it just had the smell in it, and there's no way of getting that out of the foam without destroying it. So the foam had to go in the trash. But yeah, I mean, like I said, overall, I'm really happy with how this guy turned out. And I didn't even mention, like, you know, the condition he was in when I first got him. When I first got this guy, I actually got him off eBay early November, and he was in really rough shape. Like I said earlier, I was going to talk about the boots. The boots on the original Giles costume are definitely not as high, or definitely not as good quality as the Edwardian butler boots here. And they were just completely deteriorating and falling apart and, you know, peeling. And it did not look good at all. So that's another benefit to doing this customization, is now his boots are actually really good looking. Before they looked awful. And he, in general, you know, when he was still a pull base, he was missing a lot of parts. He was definitely parted out at some point to fix another Giles, because he's like missing a pull. He was missing like the left side to his mouth. He was missing a gear in the eyes. All the wires were ripped off on the male connection inside the head. And it was just a mess. But I did get that all fixed up, and then I packed them away. And then, you know, like I said, the Edwardian butler popped up for sale, and took them back out and did the customization. And I'm sorry that's a lot of talking. I just wanted to kind of explain the full story with this guy, because he has come a really long way, that's for sure. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and demo him for you guys.
Welcome. Lovely looking for a fright, isn't it?
Now, unfortunately, the eyes don't move that well. And that's due to 2 reasons. Number 1, you know, just any Giles in general, the eyes don't move that well, because just the way they're designed, they move like one way and then they move back. They don't go like side to side. And the second reason being, when I originally got this guy, he just had so much eye goop built up on his eyes, and I took care of that as best as I could, but, you know, the eyes they still have grooves and stuff in them. So they're not as smooth as they should be, so they still kind of get caught on the mask, and it doesn't allow them to move like they should, but they do still move. And if you guys didn't know, the reason, you know, these Jimmys actually get that eye goop is because it's the plastic that they use to make the eyes is actually reacting with the plastic from the mask when it rubs back and forth, and it causes a buildup on the eyes, or the plastic to kind of swell, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it had a ton of eye goop on it, but it definitely has improved because before it had so much eye goop on it, it wouldn't move, but now it does move a little bit. I'll go ahead and turn out the lights so we can get a look at them in the dark, because this candle lights them up very well.
I don't believe we've met. At least not on this side of the grave.
So yeah, I know it's hard to tell if the eyes are moving or not, but yeah, you definitely can still see that they do move. I'll do a close-up right here.
More guests. Please leave your body at the door and do come in.
Yeah, there he is. Like I said, I'm really happy with how he turned out. And I know no matter what you do in this world, there's always going to be people that are going to disagree with your actions, or like, why would you do that? Why would you take apart a perfectly good Edwardian butler and waste it on this? And honestly, I mean, that doesn't really bother me. I'm happy with it, and that's all that matters to me. And it was an Edwardian butler. Like, come on, it's not that big of a deal. If it was something else, like a licensed character or something, of course I wouldn't take it apart for something like this, or part it out or anything like that. And also, you know, the Edwardian butler, he was in rough shape. He just reeked, so. But yeah, here he is. Like I said, very happy with how he turned out, and, you know, because of that, I think I'm gonna do more customizations similar to this in the future. Maybe one with my candelabra skeleton or my Midnight Countess, and who knows what else I could do. But yeah, I'll go ahead and activate him one more time.
Welcome. Lovely evening for a fright, isn't it?
So yeah, guys, there he is. My life-size custom Giles, sold at BJ's. And one other thing I did want to point out is I actually did make a custom sticker for the adapter, because if, you know, the pole bases don't run on 9 volts, at least none that I know of. They run on 6 volts. So, you know, in the case of someone purchases from me someday, or it ends up in someone else's hands, I didn't want them to completely ruin it by plugging a 9 volt in. So I made sure to label it properly. And, you know, I'm not saying I'm gonna sell this or anything. I plan on holding on to this for a long time, but, you know, I would just hate to see this get ruined because someone plugs the wrong adapter into it. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about this one. And I should have more videos coming out shortly, but thanks for watching. Alrighty guys, it's a little bit of a mess, but I'm just gonna kind of show you the kind of little process with this whole Giles conversion. But as you can see, the Edwardian butler is just all around us, and several different pieces. Zach's here, he's helping me out with this, but I mean, it wouldn't be as hard, but the Edwardian butler reeks. It just smells so bad.
Yeah, I know.
And like, when we went to go pick it up, it was only $30. And, you know, it's perfect. It's a perfect candidate for doing something like this. But when they opened the door to their house and they brought out the butler, we just looked at each other and we were like, oh, God.
They didn't even open the door. They just cracked the door.
Yeah,
They only cracked the door.
We were just rushed with the smell. Like, it just surrounded us.
These people, they lived in a trailer, and they had puppies and stuff. And she mentioned something about a puppy. She's like, make sure the puppies don't get outside. We're like, oh my God. And Derek even said, there's another video when he picked up his Heads Up Harry, talking about, like, he picked up stuff from meth people. He said that this smelled way worse than the meth. Like, this smells like actual feces. So
it's bad.
We have all the clothes gone. We're gonna alcohol all the plastic off, and then after that, we're gonna start wiring everything. We're gonna wire the power, going all the way down to the board. We're gonna wire the Trimey jack all the way down to the purple button.
there's Giles' original parts in there, but he's not going to be needing those anymore, hopefully. Yep. And,
yeah, we also got to swap the head motor out, because that's locked right now.
And this Edwardian butler is in just about as many pieces as you could possibly get it. And the clothing is actually in the wash right now for the second time. It's just that bad, but we'll be showing you kind of the process of switching this over as we go along, so there'll be more to come. All right, here's a little progress on the Giles. So the last time you saw it was in like as many pieces as it could be. The pants have been washed, the clothing has been washed, and the collapsing part of it is actually attached to the base again. The pants are back on with the shoes. Can you hold the top of that? And then at the bottom here, we have the try me button and the adapter jack wired up. We're gonna use that for Giles instead of the one on the back of his head. And over here we got his, I'll show this. We got his clothing over here, kind of drying still. And there's the old Giles clothing. But yeah, he is coming along. This wouldn't have taken nearly as long if the clothing didn't need to be completely like washed and cleaned and everything, but we're getting there. All right guys, so we're getting pretty far on the progress with this guy. He's pretty much all put back together. We do have a couple more things to do still, like the arm needs to be adjusted and probably shortened, and I'm still gonna add some foam padding to it, but for the most part it's done. Also, we're gonna wire the adapter port and the try me button so that it plugs in down there and you can use that button, but other than that, he's done. And I think it turned out pretty well, and honestly, I didn't think we'd get this far tonight. It's currently like 1 in the morning. We've been working on it ever since like 8 p.m., but it turned out pretty good. So, yeah, that's about it for now. Here's just another little clip of the whole Giles transformation. So originally, I planned on not touching the board at all and just leaving it in the head, which is where it originally was, just to save on hassle and, you know, not to risk doing any damage to the board. But I'm like, in the long run, I'm like, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and put it in the base, because I want this to be, you know, the most authentic collapsible that, you know, you can get with a Giles. So that would have to mean the board would have to go in the base, and now it would allow the head to go back on. This is hard to explain, but it allows his head to go back on without having a whole bunch of extra connections, because originally we were gonna run the wire for the power all the way up to his head and have an extra connection up on his head and for the try me button, but instead I just moved it all down here to the base, and I think it's turning out really good. I have one more movement to wire, which is the eyes, and the wiring will be done. After that, I'm just gonna have to add like a little bit of foam and stuff to kind of make his form a little bit better, but after that he'll be done. And yeah, I know it's a little bit of a mess in here. I'm gonna try to organize it as best I can, but yeah, it's coming along.